Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. Well, there's been a bit of a fallout regards to transfers after last night's game. Absolutely fantastic game where Celtic won 4-1, and I've got to say, what a goal by that man. Yeah, what a goal from Johnstone. Absolutely fantastic goal. He laughed about it after the game. He says he's never scored with his left foot, and he said it was even better because it was against Bainey. And he says, I don't think Bainey's ever seen me score with my left foot either. But let's get into transfer stuff straight away in the video this morning. Plymouth Argyle are looking at other centre-back targets in the meantime, whilst Celtic consider on their loan offer for Stephen Welsh. Stephen Welsh, Plymouth Argyle are still waiting for Celtic to decide on whether Stephen Welsh can join them on loan. Plymouth Argyle have also made an offer of a loan deal with the option to buy Stephen Welsh. Now, after last night's game, I'm going to say get rid of Stephen Welsh all day long. Because there's a player coming through the system and Dane Murray. Dane Murray signed a new extended deal last night, and to see all the haters out there, Dane Murray put in the performance of his life last night. Dane Murray should keep Liam Scales out the team. That's my opinion. We're all entitled to our opinions, but that's my opinion. Dane Murray should keep Liam Scales out the team. He was composed last night. He scored a fantastic goal, and I just thought all-round play is better than Scales. I think Scales was at fault for a goal last night. He was put out to the left side of defence, and you know what you're going to get from Scales. And I just think that Dane Murray coming through the system is a way better player, and hopefully it can push Scales on to become a better player. Hopefully it can just push him up that level, a bit like what this guy's doing, Alistair Johnstone. He spoke about the fact that Kieran Tierney's come into the club, and it's been absolutely fantastic for him because he looked at Kieran Tierney and he's been watching him in the English Premiership, obviously, since they knew that he was coming back to Celtic, and he's been watching how he plays. And when he met him, he went, "You're just a wee skinny guy. I'm bigger than you, and I've probably got a couple of kilos on you as well." But then when he saw him in training, when he sees Kieran Tierney in training, he's like, "This guy's good. He's as good as he looked on the telly." And then he's went, "Why can I not play like that? Why can't I up my game?" Get in there, Alistair Johnstone. That's what you want from a Celtic player. You want him to see another player come in and go, "Do you know what? I can be better than you. I can be just as good as you. I'm going to up my game, chest up, chin up, and go for it." And that's what Alistair Johnstone did last night and scored a fantastic goal. He gets the luck of the break. He never really got the luck of the break. He stole the ball off the Falkirk player, runs towards the box, hits it just inside the box with his left foot, and it's in the back of the net. Absolutely fantastic. Dane Murray scoring from a corner. Now let's talk about corners before we go any further, because the Arne Engels haters in the Celtic support, I'm going to say that. Where are you this morning? Arne Engels was phenomenal last night, and Brendan Rodgers has spoke about it also. Brendan Rodgers has been a bit peed off with the transfer talk. He's been peed off with the way that people have been negative towards Arne Engels, and I think he's quite right too, because there is nobody at Celtic that can put in a corner like Arne Engels. Arne Engels at some of the corners last night was raging. You seen the camera. He puts in a perfect ball into the 6-yard box and nobody connects with it. And he's raging at this corner at the end of the pitch. And he's like, "I'm doing my job. We need better players." And Brendan Rodgers has also said that. He says, look, people giving stick, Brendan Rodgers says, people giving stick to the £11 million man after Celtic. Engels has got fantastic potential. Look at his age. He's only 21. What was he? 21, 22. Brendan Rodgers says he's worth every single penny that Celtic paid for him. He is 21. It could be a record signing. The Belgian international had his first start of the season after being on the bench for the first 2 league games of the season. Brendan Rodgers said that, look, he's proved his worth in the Champions League. I think there's obviously a negativity around Arne and some of the guys due to what we paid for them, but he's a really good player, and we take a good player and we can make him better. Absolutely, there's a great squad here. Arne Engels' attitude is great. He tried a bit to get a little bit of looseness that came into his body. He got that off him. There's a lot of shoulders. There's a lot of people wanting a lot more from Arne Engels, Brendan says. He says, look, we brought him here for the potential. People need to remember that. We brought Arne Engels here for the potential that he has. We brought him here because he's a fantastic player and we can make him better. We can turn that 11 million into a 30 million pound player. People just need to get off his back. The guy who costs potential costs a little bit more, says Brendan Rodgers. You need to pay that little bit more, especially when you're sat at Bayern Munich away, watching the way that the team he played, the athleticism that he had, that money that Celtic have sitting in the bank. Look, Arne Engels, nowhere near the finished article, Brendan Rodgers says. We just need to pay more for a little bit of potential. You can buy potential at 1 or 2 million quid, says the manager. A lot of time, it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. It's very rarely that you get a Matt O'Reilly type player at 1.5 million coming through the system. It's very, very rare. How many times have we took a Matt O'Reilly for 1.5 million and been able to sell him for 25? Doesn't really happen, does it? But Brendan Rodgers says, look, this guy is great, he's physical, he's technical, so I don't complain about him. When you see young Dane Murray coming through the system, well, after just giving his 4-year contract extension, I did say before the game, look out for him, look out for the way that he plays tonight, because he is going to play out his skin, and he did that, and he did it with, he looked so comfortable at the back, and he's given the manager something to look at. I hope we keep Yang, he does have something to offer, says Ian. Apart from that cross that he tried to put in at the back post and he didn't even get it near the back post, he just put it out. There is something about Yang, but I've got a fear that Yang won't be able to develop as good as even Lewis Palmer. You know, there is something there. Real determination from Engels last night, says Gavboy. Yeah, he did that. I'm going to jump into some of the headlines in a minute. Real determination from Engels. I think he said to himself, fuck sitting on the bench. I want games. I think that it was good last night seeing Celtic getting back to being Celtic and what we expect Celtic to play like. You know, the fast-paced attacking football, the ganging up on twos on players in the opposition half. We did all that last night. We've been late to the show this season. I mean, I know we're only 2 games in, but last season when we started at the start of the season, we hit the season running. This year, you know, the first 2 games, it was like we're still in pre-season mode for some unknown reason. But anyway, I think that last night's shown that the manager and the backroom staff are doing their job. Arne Engels, phenomenal player. People need to stay off his back. The way that, I still go on about the way that he was fuming that nobody was putting away the perfect corners. And then when you see him go off, and then when you see Benji come on and taking the corners, come on, Benji can't lace Arne Engels' boots. Benji cannot lace Arne Engels' boots. I have enough of this talk about Arne Engels is shit and he needs dropped. He was phenomenal at the corners. Benji takes a corner and he can't get it past the first player last night. But anyway, I don't want to be negative about it last night because I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Let's jump into some of the headlines. James Cal, KT starting the game, playing the Celtic way is the only option. Yeah. And I think that a lot of the other players in the squad as well are starting to realise. Anyway, Brendan Rodgers talking about Dane. He says it's great because he's just a boy. He's got a lot of potential. I think over the next 12 to 18 months, he's going to really grow as a player. I think his ceiling is so high that at areas of his game that he needs to clearly, obviously, work on. But at 6'4", he's quick and he can take the ball. He has a comfort with the ball which aligns with top players. Again, just concentrating on the key facts for defenders, but I really like him. And hence the reason that we've tied him down on this extended deal. I think he's got a great future. I'm going to go out on a limb. And I did say last season when he slipped in the Champions League and he cost us that goal against Villa when he came on late on, and he slams his palm on the pitch, raging. is a sign of a good player, and a player that knows that he should have done better. Not a player that just slips on the pitch and is like, oh, fuck it. Do you know what I mean? Player with real rage. Players that are going to go at the top of the game. I think that Celtic could ultimately sell, in the future, Dane Murray for 20 odd million plus. Now people will laugh and say, Baz, calm down. I'm telling you, watch Dane Murray progress over the next couple of years. He can be a better player than previous defenders that have came through the system. A lot better than John Kennedy. Way better than John Kennedy. Way better than Stephen McManus. Do you know, I think that he can go up there. I mean, the limit, that this guy has no limit on the level of football that he can go and play at. Last night, it was a walk in the park to him. It was too easy. It was way too easy. He walked through the game. Anyway, some more headlines this morning regarding Celtic. Rodgers irked by Celtic transfer, probing after Celtic win. Brendan Rodgers ran out of patience as he was once again quizzed with Celtic transfers after the win over Falkirk. The Premier Sports Cup holders are into the quarter-finals this year with goals from Dies Maeda, Alistair Johnstone cracker of a strike, Dane Murray header and a Liam Henderson own and goal. Rodgers repeatedly been asked about the prospect of signing players for the Champions League playoff next week. His initial response was, right, I've just come out of a game, so we'll wait and see what it is. We've named the squad and we'll go and we'll wait and see what happens before the game. If not, that's the squad that we'll go with. And remember, the squad broke last night and there is no Inamura in the squad. Hayato Inamura is not in the Champions League squad. He will be put out on loan. I did say that he would get put on loan, and it's looking like I'm going to call that one right again. Another one that isn't in the squad is Marco Tilio. It looks like his loan deal with the option to buy may go through next week. I think there is a slight possibility that we might get a bit of business done on Monday. Monday for me is the deadline day for Celtic getting a player in before this game. We have to have them in 24 hours before the game, so if they're going to travel with there's no travelling with the squad, but if we want to get the deal done and a player in for the squad, he's not going to walk into the game anyway. It would have to be a phenomenal player that's played a good pre-season and played a couple of games to walk straight into this team, I think. When it comes to delivery, the delivery is on his head, talking about the young guy. Gavin Strachan has been working on that. Interesting that Brendan Rodgers said that Gavin Strachan had been working with Dane Murray and Arne Engels to get that ball just to land right on his head, so it was in the back of the net. And I'm glad that he's kind of been speaking about that, because it's an area that we've all been complaining about over the years. The amount of corners that Celtic do get and the inability for Celtic to put away corners is unbelievable. I mean, when you get 10 plus corners in a game, up to 10 corners in a game, statistically we should be putting at least one of them away per game. Statistically, I mean, it's crazy that we don't. But obviously Brendan has come out and says that Gavin Strachan has been working. He worked on that yesterday, getting the ball into the area. When it comes to delivery, it's right onto his head. Sensational speed, precision. He got the reward for it. But it's like you say, Alistair Johnstone, that comes from pure aggression. Good numbers on and around the ball. I noticed that Brendan Rodgers wasn't too interested in the fact that no strikers scored. Rodgers said Yang, he was good. He came on and played well with freedom. He did do that. He's got movement. He's got a lot of progression to make before he becomes a Jota, before he becomes he needs to work on his crossing. Do you know, I think that Yang's maybe another season away from becoming a really good player. Realistically, I mean, he's not the finished article that we would expect a player to be. That's just my take on it. Anyway, a lot of players who haven't played came in yesterday, giving them great value to the team. We really had a good variety in attack. We crossed it, we made good runs, and we were precise in and around the box. And I thought our variety of play was excellent last night, says Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers said on Thursday he was hopeful of adding to the Celtic squad. 6 days later, the manager said there's no news. And days later, he said, "There's no news. We press on with the players that we had." And in the post-match interview from Alistair Johnstone and Dane Murray, Alistair obviously did have a laugh about the fact that he finished with his left foot. Dane Murray headed home his first goal as a Celtic player as he put pen to paper on that new deal to 2028. Speaking to Celtic TV, he said it was absolutely just, what a day. Anyway, another headline: Celtic boss Brendan Rodgers hails Dane Murray's masterful performance. That is coming out of Ireland with RTE. And the Mail: Brendan Rodgers urges Celtic to move away from bargain buys as potential doesn't come cheap. The Celtic manager believes the club must keep investing if they want to progress to the next level. He's laid his cards on the table, Brendan Rodgers, and he said, "Look, if Celtic want to keep me as manager, I'm not here just to take part. I'm not here just for the maintenance. If you want a maintenance guy, go out and get a janitor of a manager to just keep things ticking over. I want to take Celtic to the next level in the Champions League. I want us to not just be in the Champions League to go through the league phase and then go, yeah, it was a good campaign. We'll take the 30 million. Thank you very much." Brendan Rodgers wants to be able to go into Celtic and go, "Do you know what? I'm here to see if we can get into the top 8 in the league phase. If not, definitely the top 16. The top 24 where they're in the playoff position. If we can get into a position where we are consistently in the top 24 at least, but make that little bit of progression into the knockout phase and maybe even win a game in the knockout phase. That's where Brendan wants to take us." Paul says more quality is needed. Brendan will move away. Celtic will move away from Brendan Rodgers. Paul, I've said for a couple of weeks now, I think that Brendan will win the treble and leave Celtic in the summer with his head held high. And I think he's got every right to do so. But be careful what you wish for, because we will then go through a period of managed decline. We will keep on winning, but the wage bill will come down, the profit margin will go up, and then people will get sick fed up with the next manager who's not up to it. And where do we go from there? We just start the process all over again and trying to find a decent manager. There's nobody out there that can, for me, attract a certain level of player. And I mean, unless our owner is going to dip his big, huge, fat wallet into something else, I mean, be careful what you wish for. That's all I'm saying. We could end up going backwards again, managerial wise, and we've done it before. We've done it before. I think that we lost out in the 10 because we went backwards managerial wise. If that's what you want to do, don't trust Rodgers with money. Why not Del Boy? Why not D-Boy? Why don't you trust Brendan Rodgers with money? Don't you think that Arne Engels was good? Serious alarm bells ringing for a top-class striker? Yes, there is that. But anyway, Brendan Rodgers did say yesterday, he says the sky's the limit for Dane Murray. I was done that one. We're talking about the transfers, aren't we? Brendan Rodgers believes that Arne Engels is walking proof that Celtic have to invest in substantial sums of money to get players with real potential these days. Arne Engels was fantastic last night. There is no one that can give you a delivery from a corner the way he can at Celtic. And if people can't see the football talent that he has, never mind Adam Ida. Adam Ida he's not a first choice striker. And you need to get out your head. We spent 9 million on Adam Ida. If you want to be a big club, get your big boy pants on and start spending 10, 15 million on a player. And when Celtic start spending, not a chance, James. Not a chance. Patrick James Simpson says Scott Brown will be viewed as the next Partnership manager. No, he won't. Telling you now, Brownie will not be the next manager of Celtic. And would you take an ex-Rangers player as number 2? Because wherever Brownie goes, Whittaker's going to go. And I've said before on lives, I don't think Brownie sees Celtic as the next run on his ladder in his managerial career. But we could talk about that another day. Whether we qualify or not, we should still be getting players in. Well, it's a bit late. Engels was okay. Rodgers plays him wrong. Do you think so? A winger's coming in on Monday. Is a winger coming in on Monday? There possibly could be. I'm not going to add to speculation because there could be a number of players come in on Monday. But then again, Celtic, knowing Celtic, if we win 5-1 or 4-0 or something like that on Wednesday night, that'll be the time that Celtic will go into the transfer market. Or they might even wait till the return leg and go panic button time and go out and spend loads of money. And then people will say, it's all panic buys. You can't help, do you know, the fans, if Celtic go out and spend 25 million between now and the end of the transfer window on 3 players, do you know, Celtic will say, Celtic wasting money again. I think Arne Engels, Baz, if a professional football tactic is going on, he shouldn't be playing. Jim, it's about any player can take a corner. Look at the quality of the corners between Arne Engels. I'm not here for an argument this morning. I'm just stating facts. Look at the precise landing of the corners from Arne Engels compared to Benji. That's all I'm saying. There's nobody that can cross a ball better than Arne Engels when it comes in. If Arne Engels' free kick had went in yesterday, all the naysayers for Arne Engels would be saying he's a fantastic player. But it cracks off the inside of the post and comes out. If it cracked off the inside of the post and went in, everybody was Roy Keane as next potential manager. That's going back the way, Paul. Really? That's not going to work. Roy Keane in a European context with Celtic? That's a backward step. The next Celtic manager will come off left field again. Yeah, well. But anyway, take penalties and set pieces has never been good for Benji. Engels is a corner penalty taker. He still goes through games. Do you know, there's still a lot of negativity there. He's 21-year-old. He's younger than Dane Murray. Give the guy a break. If Arne Engels had come through the Celtic system and he cost us not a penny, I bet you nobody would be batting their eyelids. In fact, they would, because it would be like he was shite. Get him on, get him gone. I'm glad Brendan Rodgers is the board and knows some of the. Anyway, Brendan Rodgers talking about the lack of investment. We still cruised to a 4-1 win over Falkirk. Afterwards, Brendan Rodgers cited the example of the Belgian international as a £11 million signing. The reason that the club can't always expect to make first-team player bargain signings. He said his attitude is great. He added that after the comprehensive film, he's a little bit tired. There was a little bit of looseness in the last 5 minutes. But the quality from set pieces and general work rate and intensity is great. So no, he's a boy that gives his all and gives his everything. And I'm in agreement with Brendan Rodgers. There's a lot on his shoulders as an expensive player, but we bought potential. The club has brought potential in many times, and a lot of them aren't here. You know, we've went and spent potential on £7 million worth of defenders. They're not here. A lot of the time it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. You can tell from a lot of the time it doesn't. Brendan Rodgers having a dig at going out and spending what do you want Brendan to do? Do you want him to go out and spend £2-3 million on players? And he said to himself last night, a lot of the time you go out and spend £1 and £2 million. A lot of the time it doesn't work. You go out and spend a little bit more, you get athleticism, you get physicality. That's what the team needs right now. So we've got great options. We've got guys that are physical and there are guys that are technical. So I don't complain, says Brendan Rodgers. Although the deadline for signings is next week for the Champions League playoff has passed, the Northern Irishman says that he's hopeful that we might be able to get in 2 wild cards before Wednesday's game at Celtic Park. Hopefully, he said. Obviously, we've named the squad. But right up until just before the game, we can do that. It would be really good if we can. When you look at it, we have Dyson Maeda, Alistair Johnstone, Dane Murray, and an own goal from Liam Henderson. Wonder if he was still wishing he was in Celtic team. I thought it was a fantastic night last night. Brendan Rodgers says the performance was very, very good from the first whistle. When you see the hunger that the team had, the intensity that the team have. First half we were good with the ball and not so good without it, he thought, Brendan. Gave Falkirk a couple of opportunities. We weren't aggressive enough in the first half. We corrected that at half time, and we really dominated the second half. So yeah, really pleased. Dominated the second half until Liam Scales gets on the ball just on the edge of the box and allows the Falkirk player to take a shot right past him. I mean, I don't see Liam Scales getting I don't see Liam Scales getting the stuff that Arne Engels gets. And people will say, but Liam Scales didn't cost 11 million. Stop talking about price. It's the talk of a wee club. When people, the fans need to stop complaining about price of players, because if you're going to moan about a 5 million, 6 million, 8 million, 9 million, 10, 11 million pound player, it shows you the small-mindedness that the club has got you into believing. The club's got you into believing that we only need to spend 1 or 2 million pound players. We can go out and spend the 1 million and find another Matt O'Reilly. No, we can't. That's a needle in a haystack stuff. We can spend 2 or 3 million and find the next Dane Murray. Well, we spent a couple of million on Shin Yamada, and he doesn't look nowhere near Dane Murray or Kyogo Furuhashi, even though that all those online football gurus said that he's better. Dane Murray is a very decent player, deserves to get a team a lot more. Yes, he does that. James Rodgers was pissed off last night. The BBC reporter asked him the same thing. Yep. I think that, it's... As a fan base, we expect so much from Celtic, and consistently trying to blame the manager and blame players because they cost a certain amount. If that's the way that you are going to talk and going to act, you're going to end up with a Ronnie Dyler type manager coming in, and you're going to end up with signings at 1, 2, 3 million. The board will be happy as anything because you're spending your money on your season ticket. They're sitting with their big £92,000 paid into your pension fund, Michael Nicholson. £92,000 a year, poof, into his pension fund, whilst we're bringing in shit players. But as long as we win the league, that's fine. If you're happy enough with that this morning, that's fine. Brendan Rodgers isn't happy enough with that. Anyway, we've realised that Liam Scales' limits are. He limits is fine. It's fine going his right. Arne Engels costs a lot more, so the spotlight's on him when we're playing Guff. Right, so you're admitting that Liam Scales, we're all admitting that Liam Scales has got a level. But have we seen the level of Arne Engels yet? Engels costs more, so obviously the spotlight's on when we're playing Guff. Yeah, you could say that, but anyway, that's me done and dusted with your Celtic news this morning. As if anyone has stood in the corner position and Bell pitch and give the player an excuse. Steph got hurt, the perfect not uphill. Yep. Anyway, that is me dusted this morning. It's only staying on for half an hour. It's a Saturday. Is there 5:45 games on today? Let me just double check. And we might do it's cup games, eh? Today, Scottish League Cup. Yeah, there's 3 o'clock kicker, so we'll do. Look who gets the own little space again, isn't it? Yeah, we'll do a 5:45, 4:45 Celtic Park full-time show just to see if Aberdeen can beat Greenock Morton, if Ayr United Scott Brown can beat Partick Thistle, if St Johnstone can beat Motherwell. That'll be a good game. St Mirren versus Hearts. Got to say, Hearts might not have it their own way. And then later on tonight, same old Alloa, always cheating. Shame on Alloa, always cheating. Have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.